So this is a superficial post you'll find online, and it will probably wow people. Which I find funny, because I can teach you things you are not supposed to fucking know. In other words, I can show you how things relate to reality, a grassroots approach, which directly influences you and I and the system at large. And this isn't an empty boast, but most people don't take notes. Most people don't watch videos that don't pop up in their feed. Most people do not give a fuck, because most people, technically speaking, are superficial by any definition you could probably cook up, or skew, since that's something people get up to these days. Give it a second. A long second. There we go. It's this channel. You can watch it if you want. I just pulled this up because people need flashy shit based on how the algorithm has been written, which you shouldn't need at all. Shouldn't be showing people certain videos based on flowery shit. It should be based on information, shit that matters. But that's not how things work anymore. I was going to say, all bitching aside, but with me, everything's a walking disclaimer statement. And yeah, you would be jaded too if you were dealing with people who do not give a flying fuck and everything around you is getting worse because of it. Typically speaking, by and large. Yeah. So I'm going to throw you a couple bones. I'm not going to give you all the ins and outs, but if you take some fucking notes, you could work this out on your own. So 37 is a perfect number, and it might not be perfect by mathematical standards, so don't get your panties in a ruffle in case Google doesn't tell you that, but it is in fact perfect. I'm telling you something, you could probably figure that out if you used your brain. Two other numbers that come up in this video that relate to what the video talks about. Maybe I won't tell you what the video is about, so you can watch it. So you can take the time to plug this shit into your browser and fucking watch it. I think it's pretty long for most people's standards these days, since people don't have attention spans. Almost 24 minutes. Can you make it? I don't know. So two other numbers pop up in here. One of them is 7. And the other one is 13, if memory serves me right. Now, if you work with 3 and 7, the 37, it will lead back to the mirror of that 13. This has to do with, if I'm not mistaken, something that we experience every single fucking day. It also has to do with, and keep in mind, I don't think he says 13 in the video. I think he says blue. I'm telling you something. Blue and 7, if I'm not mistaken. And this is because it's a point of reset. It's a bigger thought, and it has to do with something undeniably beautiful that I refuse to leave on the internet. And it's also hidden in 37. 37 sings to it, because all things that reflect or relate to reality are interconnected, which is to say reality sings to itself. Now, you're not going to be able to appreciate that if you're using our master's paradigms, because that disconnected horse shit is not harmonious, which means it does not sing to itself, which means it does not reflect reality as a whole, because it is propaganda, rabbit holes, bullshit, packs of lies, idiots repeat, and or think within the narrow parameters of. It's a bad way to put it, but that's what people do, which is why people do not figure out things. That's why what you supposedly think you know doesn't lead anywhere. That's why you aren't making any progress. You can memorize all the bullshit that our masters leave online, but it's bullshit. And you're never going to find anything that reflects reality because you're using that shit. You have to throw the paradigms out the goddamn window. And almost every single message that's going to be echoed on the internet is going to try to drag you back into the horse blinders that is or are paradigms, rabbit holes, propaganda. 8 pounds of horse shit in a 2-pound bag. Pointless shit for dumb people to repeat. The slow thinkers out there is what I'm getting at. And they are. It works. Because most people aren't willing to think for themselves. It's not what anybody wants to fucking hear, but it's a goddamn fact. So here, I'll splice in something else. I'll just show you something so that it, you see my hands in an analog calculator. Here's a quick story while I dig this out of my pocket. I had a crackhead clocking what I was doing on the bus the other day. And I think he was thinking about trying to steal a cell phone. But the best part was he couldn't figure out what the hell I had. I'll show you. He saw it from the side, and he was so perplexed that he had to tap me on the shoulder and finally ask. So I told him, yeah, it's just a janky little calculator from Amazon.com. Evil fucking Jeff Bezos. Guilty. And then he looked disappointed, because if he stole this, he'd have a whopping, $6? That nobody wants. Yeah. So I said 37's perfect. And what I'm about to show you has to do with something that people babble about but do not have any goddamn understanding of. I'm not going to connect the dots for you in this case because people have not been keeping up. But I will show you something, and most people will probably dismiss it if you do see it. So I said this is perfect. If you do this, keep in mind they don't teach you this, but multiplication shows you the trajectory of something over time. That's its purpose. Go forth and multiply. You might have heard about that. Nudge, nudge, something, something. If you do that twice, you're going to see that. I've also taught you guys something having to do with 1 and 9. This is a bigger thought. This is a much bigger thought. And it's very important. This has to do with all aspects of what we experience in terms of reality in a big fucking way. And yet, I've said this online numerous times. 9 binds, intertwines, and defines, but 9 is not physically present in reality. But every single fucking retard who babbles about 9 or the Nine sequence, or if you only knew the power of 3, 6, and 9 based on an alleged, Tesla quote. They don't understand these things. They don't understand the purpose. They can't show you a goddamn thing. And again, this harkens back to the fact that people are using paradigms. They're using our masters' outlines. They're using adult fairy tales. They're using propaganda, lies, horse shit. One last time, I can teach you things you're not supposed to know. Imagine what I could teach you and how many of you are going to keep up, take notes, and be diligent. Been at this for 10 years, and it has not boded well. Which is to say, despite being a Pisces, I've lost quite a bit of faith in humanity. Because most people are an absolute letdown, and again, by definition, as superficial as they fucking come. Alright, what the fuck do I know?